Welcome back to Switch to Linux. We are in another outdoor philosophy. This is kind of a neat video, like location. I found a nice tree to set the phone on, so I'm a little bit in a little angle here. It's just kind of where I am. And there's actually about a 2-foot drop off right here where my foot is, so I can't move around a whole lot. And it's particularly interesting because the bugs are really out right now. So this is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to try and keep this video a little short so I don't get totally eaten alive out here. But we're on to chapter 9 in the power of focus. And this is the chapter on taking decisive action. And taking decisive action is something that we all need to do. And it's a lot of people get paralyzed by the fact that they can't really take decisive action in a lot of what they're doing in their life. And that's kind of what we want to talk about. Just do it. Old Nike slogan, just do it. Very good, sound advice in life. Oftentimes we get paralyzed by too many decisions. Think back to, remember when McDonald's only had Coke, Diet Coke, and maybe Sprite. Okay, now they got 10 flavors. Now you got like hundreds of potential flavors you could get for anything because you got the machines that'll mix in this flavor, this flavor, this flavor, this flavor into this soda, this soda, this soda, this soda, and it's all poison anyway. I'd avoid it. But regardless, we are paralyzed many times by the decisions, and sometimes you wonder if that's not the intention of the culture to paralyze you in decisions, because then you just do what feels good. And we don't want to just do what feels good. Dave Ramsey says that an adult is a person who devises a plan and sticks to it, and a child is a person who does what feels good. We don't want to be children in our lives. We want to make a good, solid plan, and we want to decide to follow it, and that's kind of what we need to do. So in this chapter, he's talking about, first he starts out by asking this question: are you in the habit of putting things off? And we often put things off for a lot of different reasons. And as we put things off, let's see. I think he gives us attacked by a mosquito down there. Let's see. Does he give us good reasons? 6 good reasons. Okay, yeah. So he does cover 6 reasons. But before he covers the reasons why we often put things off, in other words, procrastination, he gives us this very intriguing word picture here. You can see that here. He's taking the word procrastinate and he's showing you that there's another word buried within it, and that word is castration. Ow. Not cool. But that's what procrastination does, is it castrates us into the decisions and doing things that feel good rather than doing things that are on a good, sound, and solid decision making. And so he talks about that a little bit, and then he gives us 6 good reasons why we procrastinate. And these are all very good reasons. As you think about the things that you need to do and the work you need to accomplish, think about the fact that we have decisions, and why is it you're putting off some decisions? So the first thing is you're bored. This is true. If you're bored, you'll put off things to do. Like if we're too busy or not busy enough, we tend to procrastinate. You got to find that sweet spot where you have just enough on your calendar to move you to make a decision, but not enough that it overwhelms you. But being bored is the first one. When we don't feel enthusiastic about things, we don't want to take the decision to stand out and to do something that is a decision that we need to do. Of course, the second one, as they mentioned, what I already brought up real quickly, is you are overwhelmed by your work. And I find this, that if I have 15 different things on my desk that I need to do, and they're all like, when is this going to get done? I have a tendency to get on the internet and just waste my time. So that's kind of that. Number 3 is your confidence has slipped. You're not quite sure you're capable of making a real good decision. And so that is one reason why we often procrastinate, is we just don't, we don't feel like we can confidently make the decision. Sometimes we just need to gather more information, but that in and of itself is the choice. You need to choose to gather the information so you can build up your confidence and make your choice. Very closely related to that is you have a low self-worth. Then this kind of gets in the way of a lot of basic life decisions. We don't eat as well because we have a low self-worth. We don't exercise as much because we have a low self-worth. And it's just basically gets us down to that point where we just don't feel good enough to make any decisions about our life. And that's kind of what they're talking about there. And then number 5 is you are doing work you don't really enjoy. This is a hard one because a lot of times, especially when we're younger and we have to getting our first jobs, we're not getting jobs that are so fulfilling. And I remember one time I'm in college, I'm working as a baker to to pay for my college. And then as the baker, you know, a lot of bad things went on that day, and they're like, and I'm just back in the stock room blowing off some steam there, and the manager's like, well, you don't want to strive to be better at your job? I looked at the guy and I said, dude, this is not my long-term career. I don't care about this place. You know, now there's a part of it where we always have to put our best in. This was a day, like, I was the best baker they had. Absolutely. They told me that many times. But this was just a day, just everything was going wrong. And we had, you know, of course we're dealing with all these high school students that were not taking it seriously either. And I just had all sorts of weird stuff going on. I'm just like, I was just frustrated that day. But what was in my heart was that very thing, that I'm not doing a work that I love. I don't enjoy taking all of my time to come here and bake cheesecake for you for $8 an hour. You know, that's just not exactly what I had in mind. But that will lead to some indecision if you're doing work you don't really enjoy. And number 6, you are easily distracted. Ooh, squirrel. But if you are easily distracted, it can become easy for you to forget about the decisions you have to make. That you're like, okay, all those things, I need done, but you know what? This TV program looks really good. Or maybe in this modern day world, hey, this YouTube video looks pretty good. Maybe you watch this because you're procrastinating doing something else. You know, hey, watch the video for sure, but you know, get back to your work after we're done. Like, stop after this video, stop, get back to your work. Make a decisive action to actually work. I'm going to try and adjust myself because this is getting extremely uncomfortable, but I also fear falling down that embankment, and because right down below that embankment is a whole bunch of mud and some water. I know, that'd be funny. Right there's a million viewer right there. I just need to... All right. So here we're talking about active decision making. So they dive into what does it take to actually make good decisions, and they give us this 4-point pithy formula. Ta-da! Ta-da! I have made a good decision. So the ta-da formula. First is to think. And if you remember what we were talking about earlier in the book, the importance of thinking and thinking appropriately, taking some time to think. Because thinking allows you to think through the potential ramifications of whatever decision you're doing. So you need to think, but eventually you need to stop thinking and make the action. So the first thing that they're doing is to think. The second is to ask. Gather as much information. Ask yourself questions. Get the answers to those questions before making your decision. Ask other people if they can help you with those questions. But realize sometimes your questions are kind of foolish. I actually had somebody call me up yesterday. It's like, you know, I'm on this conference with all these people. They want a cheap way to learn how to do backups, and what way would you say? It's like, so you want me to answer the question for you that says, how do these people do my job for themselves without hiring me? Yeah, I'm not going to answer that. Sorry. I decided not to answer that question very well, because the fact of the matter is, you know, any Saturday mechanic, sometimes you mess up your car more than the mechanic cost the first time. You know, but anyway, that's a different issue. Number 3 is decide. Make a decision. We talked about the double spiral technique before. You're spiraling up or you're spiraling down. So take the decision, like the decisive action to decide, and figure out what those things are that you need to do. Make your final decision, but once you make your decision, you're not done. You need to act on the decision. And that's that critical part. A lot of people can get right up to that final point. You decide what you need to do, you just don't do it. And we all find ourselves there many times. We need to make the decision, and then we need to act on that decision. So actually doing the decision is one of those things you need to do. Now, they actually spend some time talking about money in the middle of this chapter, and they mention it a little bit. I'm not exactly sure why. But actually, that kind of wraps up the chapter. But I do like some of their final points, so we'll go ahead and decide those, because I think that maybe it's possible we included them in here because deciding to live financially independent is a good decision. And if you remember from the previous chapter, you know, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to choose to get debt free. You can keep on throwing stuff on your credit card all day long and all day long and all day long and live paycheck to paycheck right on the very edge. Or you can decide to make different decisions. So they pulled out some basic, they pulled out 2 successful people, Sir John Templeton and Art Linkletter. They pulled those 2 out, but then each of the 3 authors to this, contributing authors to this book, also listed their things. And you know, their bottom line goals, like all of their bottom line things seem to all boil down in a few things. Number one is stay out of debt. Because if you're in debt, you are co-opting your, basically, is it co-opting the right word? Maybe squandering might be the better word. You're squandering the opportunity to utilize the money to do good things, whether it's building wealth for your family's future or whether it's collecting money to give away to somebody else, to be generous. So we need to learn to be loving people, loving the people who encounter us, or whom we encounter as we're living our life. We need to live debt-free so we have the opportunity to give, because, you know, poor and broken, desperate people, highly in debt up to their eyeballs, really can't help anybody. They have a hard enough time helping themselves. And that is the decision to stay out of debt is an important decision. The decision to build wealth to help other people is an important decision. And all of these people, everyone on the list said, yeah, giving is a good thing. Like, you know, I will follow the golden rule. I will not do a deal where someone else is shortchanged, cheated, or taken advantage of. I mean, this is a guy with a TV show years back, you know. I will use other people's money provided I feel certain the money itself can grow faster rate than the interest. I will not be greedy. Not sure. I think that's the only outlying one that's kind of says debt might be okay. But I thought this was from Art Linkletter. I thought he said somewhere else to avoid debt. Maybe he did not. I know that Sir John Templeton did. Which one was that one? Money should do far more than simply reproduce itself. Invest in many different places. There's safety in numbers. Debt, whether personal or collective, should not keep you from investing in your future. Strive to be debt-free. That's what he says. Of course, he ends his list with make success with a single word: love. And that's kind of what it boils down to. Make decisions, decide, choose what you need to do, and then act on that decision. So this has been another Outdoor Philosophy with Switch to Linux. Again, if you would like to help support the channel, you can find me on Patreon, and you can also find Amazon links below. So you can help support the channel and what we do here, either one of those ways. So with that, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.